Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Intuitive Eating Tips with Taylor. For those of you that don't already know me, my name is Taylor. I'm a non-diet registered dietitian, and I help women learn how to personalize their nutrition lives so they can eat in a worry and stress-free way without feeling out of control around food anymore. And on today's topic of Intuitive Eating Tips with Taylor, I'm going to talk all things gentle nutrition, how to use it, when to know you're ready to implement it, and just give you some examples of how you can use it in your own life. So, to start off, what is gentle nutrition? Gentle nutrition is the last principle of intuitive eating, and for good reason. It is last for a reason. But what gentle nutrition is taking the nutrition knowledge that you learn and the nutrition likes and dislikes that you have and the foods that satisfy you and kind of marrying those two thought processes together. So marrying the nutrition knowledge and marrying the your nutrition likes and dislikes together to help you make choices with food that help you feel your best and take care of your health overall. And the reason that gentle nutrition is saved until the very last principle, again, that there's a good reason for this, is because when you are practicing intuitive eating, it is important to make peace with food first. Otherwise, if we're trying to practice gentle nutrition without making the peace first, it's very likely that we're going to turn gentle nutrition into another diet or food rule, which is counterintuitive to intuitive eating. Again, so we just want to make sure that we're making peace with food first. And I'm going to talk more about that and how you can know that you have made peace with food in the first place. So you know that you're ready. So I guess I'm going to jump right into talk about how to know whether you're ready to start taking gentle nutrition into consideration for you. But before I do that, I do want to know just because when you start out with intuitive eating, just because you're not focusing on nutrition doesn't mean you are giving up on your health by any means. Like I said, we need to make the peace with food first. And so just because we're taking that focus off of nutrition doesn't mean it goes out the window. It just means we're going to put it on the back burner until we feel a little bit more mentally equipped to have that in our thought process in the first place. Have the consideration of nutrition is what I mean. So keep that in mind. And now I'm going to talk about how you know you're ready. So really, if you're new to intuitive eating, if there are a lot of foods that you feel like you still label as good or bad, you restrict or you fear eating, or you're just again still really in the making peace with food process, I would say you're not ready to implement gentle nutrition because again, we can easily, with the mindset that we have when we're still in trying to get out of the diet mentality, again, this can just easily spiral and turn into just more negative food rules that are holding you back from really healing your relationship with food. So again, if you already know that you are making peace with food still, that's a pretty obvious sign to know that you're not necessarily ready to implement gentle nutrition. But some other things that you can kind of ask yourself in order to know whether you are ready or not is, have you worked on breaking some of your food rules? So have you even really considered what food rules that you have and have you worked to break them? And again, just making sure that you actually address which actual food rules you've had and not just assuming that you don't have any anymore. Um, Another one that you can ask yourself that I kind of talked about is, are you still labeling foods as good or bad? Again, when we label foods as good or bad, that is counterintuitive to our making peace with food process because if we label food bad, we're obviously probably going to feel get bad or guilty for eating it. And if we label food good, again, we make ourselves believe that we're a good person for eating that. And again, we're not finding that neutral balance with food that's allowing us to make peace with it. So taking those labels off of food, like good or bad or healthy or unhealthy, and making peace with it first is essential to whether you're ready for gentle nutrition or not. Another thing that you can just kind of assess is, do you still feel any guilt for what you're eating, or do you feel guilt for not eating fruits and vegetables? So that's another thing with gentle nutrition. Yes, I as a dietitian, I want to see you eating fruits and vegetables, but it's not the end all be all to your health. And if you miss out on some for certain meals, again, it's not the end all be all to your health. So seeing if you feel guilty for, again, not having them in your life or eating certain foods. And again, if you're still feeling guilty for any of this, there's still more peacemaking process to work through. And I would say you're not necessarily ready to take that into consideration yet. And then another just really quick question that you can ask yourself is the reason for wanting to implement gentle nutrition, is it because I want to take care of my health and well-being and feel my best overall? Or is it because I think eating these types of foods is going to help change the way I look? Again, with intuitive eating, the focus is not on weight. It's not about changing your weight at all. And so in order to feel ready for gentle nutrition, we really want to make sure we're at a place where we feel like we're doing it for our health and how we feel rather than how we look. So that's just another question that you can take into consideration before diving in with gentle nutrition. So if you have any questions or aren't sure if you're ready or not to implement gentle nutrition, you can go ahead and leave a comment on the video below to ask me, and I will definitely be able to answer that for you and give you some more in-depth answers. But if you feel like you are ready to implement gentle nutrition, if you feel like you don't have the food rules, if you don't feel guilty for eating certain foods and you've taken those labels off of food like good or bad, then here's some examples of how you can implement gentle nutrition into your life. And keep in mind, my way of implementing gentle nutrition may not be your way of implementing gentle nutrition. Remember, this is a wholly personalized process. But again, these are just examples. So let's say, for example, so I'm going to use the example of whole grain bread versus white bread for one of these. So let's say, for example, that you really don't care whether you're eating whole grain bread or white bread. Like eating one or the other doesn't affect you. The taste is fine either way. In that case, if you didn't care whether you're eating the whole grain or the white bread taste wise, I would suggest eating the whole grain bread. Why? Because it has a little bit more nutrients. It has more fiber, which is filling and satisfying. And again, more nutrients in whole grain bread. So again, in this case, because the taste in the food didn't matter to you, go with the more nutritious choice because it doesn't matter to you. But we can say this in a different way. If you really, really hate whole grain bread, like the taste of it is just gross to you and you just prefer white bread, have the white bread instead. You do not have to eat whole grain bread. There are plenty of other ways to get nutrients in and fiber outside of whole grain bread. So in that case, again, it's really take into consideration your preferences first. And then if it doesn't matter, go with the more nutritious choice. If the preference is it does matter, then we can find other ways to get in some gentle nutrition into your life. Another example for me personally, I really don't enjoy fruit by itself a lot. Like the texture and the taste of fruit, it differs so much with every bite to me. And especially the texture, I really don't enjoy just like eating a banana or like an orange or grapes. Like it doesn't sound good to me most of the time. Sometimes it does, but most of the time it doesn't. And so for me, gentle nutrition wise, I know that I do want to get fruit in my life because it's beneficial for my health and helps me feel better. So the way that I do that is I'll have smoothies, 3 or 4 times a week because that sounds good for me, like for breakfast. And that is really like the biggest way I get my fruit in. Yes, there are times when I'll top pancakes or waffles or French toast with some fruit as well. And there's some other ways I'll get in fruit. But again, my main way of getting fruit in is smoothies. So another thing to take into consideration is you don't have to eat just plain fruits and vegetables. You can find ways to enjoy them in ways that you truly love when it comes to gentle nutrition. And I'm going to stop there with giving you examples so I can keep this video short and sweet, like I always try to. But if you feel like you're ready to implement gentle nutrition and you just need some ideas or also just advice to make sure you're not turning it into another rule, again, go ahead and leave a comment or reach out to me. I am always happy to chat more and help you figure that out on your own. So it really does work for you in your life. And so you can have those personalized nutrition habits that help you feel your best overall. So there you have it. There's a brief video on what gentle nutrition is, how to know you're ready to implement it, and some ideas for implementing it if you feel ready. I hope you enjoyed this segment of Intuitive Eating Tips with Taylor, and look out for the next one soon.